Chris, I thought we'd start today by talking some politics. You had a couple of stories in the news today regarding the Staunton city elections and the Waynesboro city elections. Let's start in Staunton, where Erik Curren, who's sometimes been a columnist and a guest on this podcast, has announced that he's going to run for city council again.
Yeah, I don't I don't know if a lot of people remember. It's been a while. Erik ran for the House of Delegates in 2009, and he ran for city council and won first of two terms on the Staunton City Council in 2012. But yeah, back in the day, he was a regular columnist on Augusta Free Press, writing about environmental issues, climate issues. That feels like forever ago. I know from looking at our pictures when we would do things back in those days, we had a lot less gray in our hair and our beards, everything else. Erik served two terms on the city council, 2012 and 2016. He was elected. In 2020, he ran for a third term, and he was ousted among that wave of Republican votes in Staunton for the first time in a long time. And even in that November in Staunton, Joe Biden got over 60% of the vote, and that's pretty consistent for Staunton. But for some reason, in May of 2020, there was a big turnout of Republicans, and all four seats went to Republican candidates. And so Erik took some time off. In fact, took almost 2 years off. He finally got back involved. He went to a city council meeting earlier this year. Citing some issues with, I've noted in a story on our Augusta Free Press website, issues including the ousting of the longtime city manager, Steve Rosenberg. They still haven't replaced him. It's June now. That was done back in January. The removal of Steve Rosenberg. They've been fighting with the schools over funding, fighting with each other over appointing members to an equity and diversity commission, fighting with Augusta County over the future of the Augusta County Courthouse. It's just like it's just been 2 years of nonsense. And Erik, now he's running on the November ballot. He's official today. He's going to his place on the ballot secure. The majority won't change this year.
Right, the seats of the Republicans aren't up for vote. But so whose seats are up in this term?
It would be Terry Holmes, Carolyn Dull, and Brenda Mead. Their seats are up. We don't know about any of those three, if they're either running or if they're not. I have not seen anything from them on that yet. I think Erik running would indicate that maybe one of those three might be stepping down. I don't know that he would want to step on the toes of anyone he served on the council with. But he's volunteering himself basically for 2 years of beating his head against the wall, given that he won't be able to corral a majority. He and whoever else might be elected this November with him. But so I admire that. I mean, Staunton elects all of its members of city council by at large. Unlike Waynesboro, we'll talk about Waynesboro in a few minutes. Staunton does all at large elections, so that's how you can run every 2 years if it happened to lose 2 years ago in his case. So, but yeah, the four seats for the Republicans are not up. So unless one of them were to resign or move out of town or something like that, Staunton's going to probably continue to have the silliness and nonsense with their elected government for the next couple of years. But then again, it's what it's what the voters seem to want. But Erik is a guy, man. He's got experience. The 8 years of experience on the city council, and we know where his head and heart lie on important issues. So I've scheduled a podcast with Erik for a couple of weeks away. I think we're going to do that on June 21st. And so we're looking forward to having a chance to talk with Erik and learn more about why he's running and what he hopes to achieve if elected this November.
And you mentioned that Staunton runs at large. What that means is if there's 10 candidates running, whoever out of that, the top three get elected to city council. So that's kind of how that will work in Staunton.
And it also means you don't have to live in a district. So, the three people could all live next door to each other. Unlike in a place like Waynesboro, which we'll talk about again and coming up in a moment. Waynesboro, you actually have one at-large seat on its 5-member council. Staunton has a 7-member council, all 7 elected by at-large, which means they can be anywhere in the city. And also you have the top vote getters, 4 in one cycle, 3 in another cycle get elected. In Waynesboro, there's one at-large seat, and then there are 4 seated by wards. And so you have to actually live in the ward. And now by a new state law, you have to the voters in that ward are the only voters who can vote for their preferred candidate. So